everyone, Matt here from Docs Running, and today we're going to do a comparison review of the Brooks Adrenaline GTS 23 and the Asics GT-2000 12. The purpose of this video is really to compare these models because they are quite similar in a couple ways. These have been around forever, right? 23rd version. I know this is 12, but this has been around much longer than that. They've changed names, stuff like that. So they've been around as long as I've been in the footwear industry and even a little bit before that. They're also in the similar category, moderate stability, daily trading shoes, but how they're executing that and how they have changed over the years has gone in completely different directions. So I really want to help you decide which one might be better for you if you need a moderate stability dating trading shoe or are looking for one, and help you make that decision. So let's start off with specifications first. The Adrenaline, there's some variance in the reporting of this, so just heads up. But what I have so far, 10.1 ounces men's size 9, 8.1 ounces women's size 8, 36 in the heel, 24 in the forefoot for a 12 millimeter drop. The GT 12 is coming in at 9.5 ounces men's size 9, 8.3 ounces women's size 8, 32 and a half in the forefoot, in the heel, I'm sorry, 24 and a half in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter drop. Kind of standard drops for what these two companies have been doing. The Adrenaline has been very consistent over the last several years with some minor tweaks, whereas the GT-2000 has been going through some big changes. The most recent one, in my mind, is one of the best. I have a full video review of both these, but I'm really enjoying the GT-2000 12. It's really come forward, but I think there's still going to be some people that enjoy this, the Adrenaline. So let's talk about fit first. So fit-wise, they actually are quite similar on foot. It feels like the Adrenaline 23 fits just slightly short, a little bit more room throughout the length of the shoe. The GT-2000 feels like it's just a little bit more snug throughout the length of the shoe. Both of them do a great job of opening up with some daily miles, but when you first put them on, you're going to notice those slight differences. The GT-2000 has a little bit more stretch in the upper and is a little bit more accommodating, whereas the Adrenaline upper, it's accommodating. They're both really great mesh uppers. I just feel like it kind of has a little bit more, what's the term I want? Just that, again, that shorter fit, that closer kind of fit, whereas this is kind of the more snug fit is the best way I can describe it. Other than that, both of them fit true to size. Both of them have great midfoot holds. Heel counters are stiff. There's a little bit more padding in the GT-2000 for those that are sensitive, but stiff and stable heel areas. Really outside of that, actually pretty similar. Outside of a little bit more snug, a little bit short, but very similar upper fit, which is actually really nice for helping make that decision. Or if you want to switch between the two, it might not be a bad idea. More on that later. The soles are where things totally diverge and are completely different. Obviously, you have the very high drop over here with the Brooks Adrenaline. Obviously, you have the more moderate drop is the easiest thing to think with the GT-2000. The other things is the foams are totally different. So the new Fight Foam Blast Plus over here is much softer in the GT-2000. The Adrenaline, because there's so much under the heel, it's DNA Loft V2, which in my mind, I have yet to find to be very soft. It's cushioned, don't get me wrong. It's just the heel is a little bit soft, but the forefoot's a little bit firmer. The foam tends to run a little firmer in my mind, whereas the foam over here in the GT-2000 tends to run a little bit softer. On that same note, with the better and improved heel bevel, I think the heel of the GT-2000 is much smoother than the high heel drop of the Adrenaline. Now, if you want a higher heel drop, you want a little bit more in the heel, the Adrenaline's gonna work better for you. But if you want a more kind of smoother riding heel, better bevel, I talked about the geometry over here, which compresses really well. The GT-2000 is gonna kind of win out. But there's some other changes that you might want to think about. So when you come over to the forefoot is much firmer in the Adrenaline, whereas it's much softer and a little bit more cushioned in the GT-2000. I personally like the GT-2000 more for that because the Fight Foam Blast Plus is just a little bit more bouncy, feels a little bit more cushioned. But if you want that this is relative, teeny bit more firm, teeny bit more, or not stable, but teeny bit more firm and grounded rind underfoot, that's where the Adrenaline is going to come in. The drop does make it feel very different. I mentioned that the heel can feel a little clunky in the Adrenaline, but if you like that, awesome, and a lot smoother over here. The forefoot is also a little different. It's a little stiffer over in the Adrenaline, a little bit more flexible over in the GT-2000. Again, also because the sole is just a little bit softer over here. But rides are very different, again, because of the drop and the cushioning. Also just a little bit more bounce with some of the newer foams that Asics is experimenting with. When it comes to stability, that's also really different. So you have the guide rails over here, which Brooks has been using for a long time. Asics moved away from posts and is now using the 3D guidance system that I talked about, which is really just these internal geometric parts of the midsole where if you start rolling into them, they tend to give you a little bit more pressure back. It doesn't feel like a traditional post, but it certainly is apparent there, more in the midfoot, where the Adrenaline, and I felt this over the years, a lot of the stability and stiffness really happens at the heel. Yes, there's also the lateral sidewall, which is great for central guidance, but I personally feel the majority of the stability is really centered in the heel and a little less in the midfoot and forefoot. Not that it's not stable there, it's just not as significant as the really stiff heel. So if you need heel stability and want a high drop, the Adrenaline's going to be really good. But if you want that more kind of classic midfoot stability that is really, really well here, it's also in the heel, it does a little bit into the forefoot, then you're going to want to try the GT-2012, which does a lot better job of that. And it tends to have the stability a little bit more spread out. So that's also another comment, is the Adrenaline, I feel, is the higher level stability shoe in the heel. It's stiffer, it's a lot more rigid back there, whereas because of the softer sole, the GT-2000 is much more in that moderate realm. I was always told back when I worked in running stores, the Adrenaline was just a little bit higher than that moderate stuff. It's still in the same, it's always put in the same category, whereas the GT-2000 has kind of varied, and I would say it went from being like a mild stability shoe, and now it's back in that moderate realm, but it's still spread out along the medial side much better than it was beforehand. So if you want more of that midfoot stability feeling, which I really get here, the GT-2000 might be a better option. It's still, the heel stability is plenty good, but if you really need a higher level of heel stability, that's where the Adrenaline's probably going to come in a little bit better. The other thing I got to talk about, the GT-2000 is lighter and it is noticeable on foot. It's not just the ride. I've really enjoyed this shoe. The Adrenaline is a tried and true classic daily trainer. It's really not meant to pick up the pace. It's just for getting daily miles in, and it will be consistent in that. But I personally am liking the GT-2000 more because it's a little more versatile. It's been getting lighter. It's a little snappier, a little bit bouncier. And if that's something you want, then this is going to be a shoe you might want to try out. But if you just like, hey, I just need my higher heel drop, stable heel shoe to get me through the miles, the Adrenaline's going to do a great job as well. So both these are great shoes. There's a reason that they're rated really highly. There's a reason they've been around for so long, and there's a reason they're really popular. But they are different, and I hope this video kind of helped highlight some of those things so you can make a decision, not which is the best shoe overall, but what's the best shoe for you. And that might vary. These are all also two great options if you have the finances to switch back and forth. They are different enough that you can jump between the two of them, get two different stimuluses, kind of where you're going to load tissue, different firmnesses, different stability levels. That, again, I would like to say, thanks to Laurent Maslow, one of the few things we know about footwear is that if you have a couple pairs of shoes in your rotation, is one of the few things that can reduce your injury risk. So if you have the finances, you could consider both these. If you don't, hopefully this video helps decide which one might be best for you. Please comment below if you try them. Which one did you like better? If you got to try them both, what's your experiences with each one of them? I want to know, because I'm curious, because I'm always curious to hear what people are experiencing, because it's not just about us, it's always about you.